The agent did exactly what it was allowed to do. That was the problem. It opened the files, changed the record, and sent the message. No hack, no broken model, no dramatic warning, just a useful AI system operating with more authority than the task required. The next AI failure inside a company may not begin with intelligence. It may begin with permission. This is the line between an assistant and an agent. An assistant produces an answer. An agent can use tools to change the world around that answer. It can edit a document, update a customer record, run code, issue a refund, or publish a post. The moment AI gains action, access control becomes part of product design. Every agent action borrows authority from somewhere. A user account, a service token, a connected app, a browser session. Sometimes that authority is obvious. Sometimes it is inherited silently. The agent may be asked to summarize one folder while the connected account can read the entire drive. The task is narrow. The credential is broad. A practical permission model has 4 levels: read, draft, edit, act. Read lets the agent inspect. Draft creates a proposed change. Edit changes internal state. Act creates an external consequence. Too many systems jump directly from read to act because the demo feels more magical. In production, that jump is where control disappears. OpenAI's guidance for workspace agents makes the distinction concrete. Right actions can be configured to always ask, never ask, or use custom approval rules. The risky category includes actions that send, edit, post, or delete. That is not a small settings detail. It is the boundary between a recommendation and an irreversible decision. But asking for approval before everything creates a second problem: approval fatigue. If a person sees 30 nearly identical prompts, the approval button becomes muscle memory. Human in the loop is not automatically human judgment. The review moment must show the proposed action, the target, the consequence, and the evidence that led there. A better system scores actions on 2 dimensions: reversibility and impact. Reading a public page is low impact and easy to reverse. Drafting an internal note is still contained. Sending a customer email is external. Deleting data, moving money, changing access, or making a legal commitment belongs in the highest risk corner. The real multiplier is tool chaining. Each tool can look harmless alone. Search the inbox, read the document, update the CRM, send the reply. Combined, those permissions form a workflow with more power than any single connection reveals. The risk lives in the path through the tools, not only in the list of tools. OWASP calls this excessive agency: too much functionality, too many permissions, or too much autonomy. Prompt injection becomes more dangerous when an agent has broad tools behind it. The safest response is not to hope the model ignores every malicious instruction. It is to reduce what a compromised workflow can actually do. Identity is the next layer. An agent using a shared owner account can become impossible to separate from the person who created it. A dedicated agent identity gives operations a name, an owner, a purpose, and a revocation path. It also makes the question simple: which exact machine actor performed this action? NISD's 2026 concept paper frames the unresolved questions directly. How should an agent prove its authority? How should delegation work when it acts on behalf of a person? How can identity bind to human authorization? And how should actions and intent be logged so responsibility can be verified later? These are operating questions, not science fiction. Google's security guidance reaches the same practical conclusion: create an agent identity, apply least privilege, and use human approval for sensitive actions. Least privilege does not mean the smallest permission imaginable. It means the smallest permission that still completes the defined task. Anything beyond that is unused authority waiting for the wrong context. OpenAI's description of running codecs safely shows what layered control looks like in practice: technical boundaries, approval decisions, network policy, and logs of tool activity and results. The point is not that every agent must copy one product. The point is that serious autonomy needs boundaries before speed, not after an incident. A useful audit trail records more than the final click. It should capture the goal, the data consulted, the tools called, the decision made, the approval received, and the result returned. Without that chain, teams can see what changed but cannot explain why. And an unexplained autonomous action is an operating liability. Permissions also need an expiry date. A temporary research agent should not keep permanent access after the project ends. A sales workflow should not retain a former employee's credentials. A test integration should not become invisible production infrastructure. Access reviews, token rotation, and one-click revocation turn permission into a life cycle. The strongest architecture uses 4 gates. An identity gate confirms which agent is acting. A scope gate checks whether the action fits its job. An impact gate evaluates reversibility and consequence. An approval gate stops high-risk actions until a human reviews the exact change. Every gate answers a different failure mode. Imagine a procurement agent receives an invoice. It can read the document, compare it with a purchase order, and draft the payment request. But it cannot release funds. The human sees the vendor, amount, mismatch flags, and evidence. The agent handles the repetitive path. The person owns the irreversible decision. Now apply the same model to marketing. Let the agent research, outline, draft, and schedule a preview. Require approval before publishing from the brand account. The workflow remains fast because the human reviews one composed decision, not every keystroke. Good governance removes uncertainty from the final action. A company can start this week. First, list every agent and connected account. Second, label each tool as read or write. Third, mark irreversible actions. Fourth, add approval at those moments. Fifth, test revocation. Sixth, review the logs after a real run. This exposes the largest permission gaps before a full governance program exists. Executives need 6 answers. How many agents are active? Who owns each one? Which identities do they use? What can they change? Where is approval required? Can access be revoked immediately? If those answers require a week of searching, the organization does not have an agent strategy. It has agent sprawl. The competitive advantage will not come from giving every agent unlimited freedom. It will come from giving reliable agents clear lanes, enough access to finish valuable work, enough friction to stop irreversible mistakes, enough telemetry to explain what happened. The best agent is not the one with the most power. It is the one with the right authority. Before your next agent goes live, do not ask only what it can do. Ask what it is allowed to do, whose authority it borrows, which actions require review, and how you will stop it. Intelligence makes the agent capable. Permission design makes it deployable. This is Agentic Frontier.